Joining me now for a closer look at President-elect Trump's America First plan as worldwide stocks soar and his promise to repeal TPP on day one. Marco Vicenzino is a former strategic advisor for the World Bank and founder of the Global Strategy Project. Good to have you with us here, Marco. Let's talk about two aspects of potentially Donald Trump's foreign policy. The clear-eyed stuff that he's been very clear about that he campaigned on, which is repealing TPP and a more free trade balance. What does that look like?
I mean, apart from his overall foreign policy beyond the trade issue is still largely a blank slate. And even if you're looking at things like TPP, he's also saying that we will also do bilateral deals. So in other words, cancel these multilateral deals and we'll do bilateral deals, and they'll be using a cost-benefit analysis on what specifically benefits what he says as America First.
And when we look at other big issues, particularly the ongoing civil war in Syria, the Iran nuclear deal, what potential policy positions can Donald Trump favor or pursue to either end the war in Syria, and can he even rip up the Iran nuclear deal?
If you look at the war in Syria, for example, he's very much limited because much of it when the uprising began in early 2011, much of what happened since then, largely U.S. inaction, has led a void which the Russians have filled. And there's not much that can do that. Whether Aleppo will fall or not still remains to be seen. But I think for Trump, he's looking beyond Syria. There'll be continuity on the fight against ISIS in eastern Syria and in western Iraq. But I think what he's looking more is cutting deals, for example, with Mr. Putin to reach some kind of accommodation on Syria and in other places. Regarding your point on Iran, remember, the Iran deal was a United Nations Security Council resolution, which is legally binding. But what he has space and flexibility is in terms of the American unilateral sanctions against Iran. He can make them stronger, he can upgrade them, but the problem he may run into that is that if he's going to try to hit European firms with U.S. subsidiaries, you're back to where you was several years ago in terms of destabilizing relations, commercial relations with the European partners.
The chances of doing something against Iran bilaterally is much more difficult. You mean he would have to go after European companies. Let me ask you really quickly about Syria. He's talked about a tougher military strategy. Do you see more military involvement in Syria for the United States under Trump?
No, I mean, I think if you're looking at eastern Syria and the war against ISIS, yes, the potential, once I use that word, upgrade of it, strengthening of it. But I think it's important to see, if you look at the initial appointments, for example, National Security Advisor Flynn, also then you have a CIA director, you have Representative Congressman Pompeo. People are thinking that this is going to be, it's already starting to be a hawkish national security team.
Right.
But the key thing it's not, I don't think it's a neocon type that's going to want to redesign the Middle East and the other region, but it's going to mostly be one where it says on a limited basis, when you mess with America, we'll hit you and we'll hit you hard.
Unless they get John Bolton, a known neocon in the State Department or something like that.
Remains to be seen.
It remains to be seen. Marco Vicenzino, good to have you with us in the studio this morning.
Thank you.